So what's the deal with the Canon EOS R8? R8, that's kind of a weird one to say. The R8 is one of Canon's newest announced RF models, and it's a bit hard to tell initially who this camera is for. It's a camera that's cherry-picked parts from other cameras before it, and comes with a price point of $14,990. Whoa, that's really expensive. $1,499. From this price point, it's clear that Canon's not trying to push this as their next latest and greatest RF model, but even so, this actually might be the perfect model for some people. The bigger question is it the perfect one for you? So the basic way to describe this camera is that it is the body of the Canon RP merged with the sensor of the Canon R6 Mark II, which means it boasts all the same resolution specs as the Canon R6 Mark II for $1,000 less. 24.2 megapixel images, 4K 60 with no crop, 120 frames per second HD. No, actually 180 frames per second HD. This is truly where this camera shines. And just like the Canon R6 Mark II, the quality backs up the specs. I mean, the 4K is oversampling from a 6K sensor, which makes it even better, and paired with the now standard 10-bit color C-Log and the advanced autofocus features of the R6 Mark II, it can compete with cameras that are twice its price point. Getting these features for such a low price can be a huge draw for new filmmakers, but the reality is that's just about all you're paying for with this camera. Behind these hefty resolution specs comes very stripped down functionality. That's where the Canon RP side comes in. You have 30-minute recording limits, reduced shutter speeds and functionality of the shutter, a much lighter and less hefty build, lower level batteries that just don't hold up as well, no IBIS stabilization, only one SD card slot. The difference is, even with all this functionality stripped down, the Canon RP knows exactly what camera it is, where it seems like the R8 is still trying to find itself. It's okay, we've all been there. R8. R8, I don't know, it just sounds weird to me. The Canon RP is a cheap entry-level camera, and it knows that. It's generally more of a consumer camera or a beginner camera. It's not something that you would use in a professional setting. And it makes sense with it being a sub 1,000 price point. But with the 1,499 price point of the R8, you're not really sure where it's supposed to land. It's hard to know if Canon views this as a professional level camera. You have these amazing specs and resolution and a smaller, cheaper, less functional body. Now, you may hear this and be like, wow, finally, a camera with the specs I wanted for the price point that I can afford. Shut up and take my money, Canon. Before you fork over those hard-earned dollars, I do want to point out some key drawbacks. I think the main question you want to ask yourself in the mirror in the morning is, am I buying this camera for professional work or just for personal projects? And then brush your teeth. Dental hygiene is very important, people. But then afterwards, ask yourself, am I okay with having one SD card slot over two? Am I okay with having a lighter, possibly less sturdy build? Am I okay with, you get it. When I'm shooting wedding photos, I 100% of the time always have a backup SD card in my camera in case one of my cards fail or gets corrupted. And yes, it has happened to me. I mean, these things are like comically flimsy. I just had one of them break a couple weeks ago. Going into a photo job with one SD card is like having, you know what, I'm not going there. You get it. Shooting with one SD card on your beach vacation, that's fine. Just watch out for sand, you know. Yeah, maybe a card gets corrupted and that would suck, but the chances of that are still low. At least nobody's paying you for those photos. The second thing is batteries. The R8 doesn't take the typical universal batteries you'd get out of the R6 or R5 or 5D. It's a smaller version that the RP uses, and they don't last as long. What I love about these batteries is that they almost feel universal. As with these, you know, they're more limited, and you might have to purchase more of them to get the same battery life output as you would with these. And that's a very big factor for a paying job. If you're someone who's very wild with your camera, first of all, be careful. Second of all, consider the build quality of the R8. While it's still a pretty sturdy build, it doesn't compete with the more expensive models that are out there. While you shouldn't consistently be dropping your camera, accidents still happen. And the R8 unfortunately may not hold up as much as cameras with a sturdier build would. And lastly, some minor but still important points. shots. The screen, the viewfinder are not as high quality. Would that impact your ability to get good photos and good video? The shutter is also not as powerful. Is that a problem too? Look, as I always say, you don't need the fanciest, newest equipment that's out there to shoot a good photo or video. You never do. You never will. But in a professional environment, there are expectations that need to be met. And investing more money and better tools that make fewer mistakes will allow you to succeed easier. For someone like me, the R8 just does not give me the same confidence that my other equipment does in this category. However, the good thing is if I need a cheap, quick option for a B cam, maybe even a C cam, the R8 could work. It would match the quality of output that I have with my other cameras. And maybe I don't need the functionality in all cases. For hobbyists, for personal projects, vlogging, you definitely have a great option here. I think for controlled environments and low stakes shoots, you have a camera that actually thrives. You can take a huge step in quality without a massive price point. Sure, some of the functionality might hold you back, but when the pressure of high-paying jobs is off, the functionality drawbacks don't matter as much. Just make sure you take good care of your camera and always have extra batteries and extra SD cards. Maybe a neck strap too. The R8 is a good middle-of-the-road option. Will I get it? Probably not, but I'm me, and you're not me. If you're a hobbyist or do a lot of personal projects, I don't think you need to invest a lot of money in your gear, and this camera is a good solution for any gap in video quality or photo quality that you may face with a lower budget. But if you're doing consistent professional photo or videography work, I would advise skipping this camera and investing something in more like the R5 or R6. And for the record, this is all within the confines of the Canon mirrorless lineup. There are plenty of other companies you can go with that have great options for you. Regardless of what you go with, I am always a believer if you are committed to making this a profession of yours, you should at least invest some decent money into it. And the best part about it is, once you are making money off these cameras, you're gonna make the money back that you spent for them. 5, 10, 100-fold. To me, the R8 just doesn't fall into this category, but it could be a cheap supporting option in a pinch. What are your thoughts? Will you be picking up an R8? I won't be, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't. We all have our different tastes in cameras, just like food. I mean, I like my hot dogs and fries plain, with no ketchup or mustard. Sue me. No matter what you choose, as long as you know how to shoot and you think creatively, then any camera that you pick up will be great for you.